intimacy is kind of like I don't know, for a lot of guys, it got replaced by pornography too. I think really damaged it, especially for me. Once I found pornography, there was a way to have a feeling, a connection with a woman that was safe enough for me to be in.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to be hurt.
Yeah.
There was some sexual reward to it.
Yeah.
And I could start it and stop it as I wish. And it was the only kind of relationship I could even really handle, kind of. When I was in other relationships, but none of them were as long as my relationship with pornography, to be honest.
Yeah.
And right now I'm I think I'm 77 days off of pornography and 70 days off of masturbation. So I've had sexual activities, but I haven't been touching my wiener or whatever. People that say different stuff, but I'm saying, like, I don't know what they say in your country, topping off the
wanking.
Wanking or whatever. Yeah. Thinking of the queen or whatever they say, I don't know what they say. Queen takes rook or whatever. That's like a chess move, but yeah. So that's been kind of different, for me. That's been different, but that was a huge thing.
How is it different?
Well, for one, I quit thinking about it. It's like I don't think about pornography. I don't think about like masturbation. I don't have that weird feeling where like I'll masturbate and then I'll just be laying there like I'm still right where I was, but I've like kind of ejaculated or whatever. Because like sometimes like semen, or some people call it I don't know what people call it or whatever, like party sauce or whatever. I don't even know what people call it, on the street or whatever. But like, I feel like the more I keep it in my body, the more masculine I feel, right? And the more of myself I feel, as opposed to just having a leak of it constantly. It was kind of like I almost had a leak of my masculinity. And I would cause the leak, but the leak would happen. And it was just like a dripping pipe. It was like, you look at a dripping pipe, you're like, but you look at a pipe that's not dripping, you're like, hey, this is some pretty good construction
I like
over
that.
here.
I love that phrase, leak of my masculinity. So
yeah, that's kind of what it felt like, now that I really think about it. And then I start to look at women a little bit. I don't think of it just so much in I've always thought of women in more than just a sexual sense, but the sexual part isn't as strong. It's not like, let me just think about sex. It's giving me a little bit more space in myself to be like, well, let me think about who this person is, and do I really want to engage with them? It starts to give a little bit more value to sex for me, and by that happening, intimacy is kind of created because, for one, I have a little more intimacy with myself, right? It's like I respect my intimacy a little bit more. I'm not just masturbating. I'm not just like tossing my intimacy off to some person through a screen or something that doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
And so I think those are some feelings in my head that start to happen, and I start to feel a little bit more, I don't know if it's integrity, but it is a little bit more sense of intimacy with myself.
That's lovely. So one of the reasons that people resort to things like that, particularly after a breakup, is that the brain circuitry that is to do with unrequited love is relieved by certain activities because they cause the same kind of chemical cocktail. And those activities are things like alcohol, cocaine, pornography.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it makes it make sense, right? This is why people
go
will
to
indulge
those
in
things.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously they're addictive. So then it becomes something that you need to do more of to get the same reward.
Right. And that becomes your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then it's like, well, yeah, of course, other relationships are going to be different because I don't even realize the relationships that I put in front of.
And the other thing is that pornography creates such an unrealistic, idealized version of what a woman should look like and what she should be prepared to do in an intimate relationship, or even not in an intimate relationship, like in a one-night stand or very early in dating. That's very damaging to male and female relationships as well. That, the expectation that you will naturally have if you've been looking at that every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And to not have it in my brain, and it starts to my imagination starts to start up again. Like that's one thing that's disappeared over the years, I feel like, is our imagination, because we have access at anything you want to see. You want to see two gay guys attack a squirrel or whatever in a marina or whatever. You can, but you can Google it right now and you'll find it. Like anything you want to find out there, you can. it's like we don't need our imagination anymore. You used to have to imagine things, you know? And so that, like, now my imagination starts to start up again, you know? Because, I'm not attaching porn to women I meet now, you know? And there, right there, squirrel attacks twink, right there, that is. And I don't know. And that might have been the rebuttal. Who knows where the first attack started, but yeah, so that's something that's been really neat just on this recently that I've been doing. And really seeing some reward from it. Mm-hmm. And you know what's so crazy? For years, I tried like different like blockers on computers and stuff. And I got started with this kind of recovery coach, and he just said, why don't you text me at night? And he said, tell me something that felt good during your days. Tell me something you felt like maybe you could have done a little bit differently. And then tell me how long you've been off of porn and how long you've been off of masturbation. That's, for some reason, that's all it took. And it's just been so easy.
Well, it's accountability.
Maybe that's it. It's like accountability with somebody that I trust, I trust. And
that you respect, because you'll feel like you've let them down if you can't send those messages.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't feel that as much, but I just felt, I was shocked at how easy it started to help me, you know?